Tonight, the music world is mourning the sudden death of Grammy-nominated rhythm and blues artist Angie Stone.
The sudden, tragic loss of Angie Stone has left fans across the globe in total disbelief. An electrifying performer with a voice that could both comfort and captivate, Angie brought a soulful intensity that few artists achieve in a lifetime. Yet it wasn't merely her stirring vocals that made her a legend, it was also the stories she told about her life.
We start now with some breaking news. Grammy-nominated singer-songwriter Angie Stone has died in a car accident in Montgomery County.
Honest glimpses she shared, and the courage she showed when challenging giants in the music industry. To fully grasp how this neo-soul icon rose, fought for her share of success, and then met a fate so jarring it still ignites heated conversations, we need to rewind to where it all began. When Angie Stone first stepped in front of a microphone, no one could have foreseen the seismic waves she would one day create. Born Angela Brown in Columbia, South Carolina, Angie seemed destined for melodies the moment she could speak.
She was 63 years old. Stone's manager confirming that she and other crew members were leaving Alabama after performing at the Mobile area Mardi Gras.
Her childhood was marked by gospel choirs and Sunday morning performances that drew the attention of the entire congregation. Under her father's guidance, she honed every note, determined to be more than just a small-town girl with a big voice. Even then, whispers began circulating that she was meant for greater things. But the music world can be merciless, and carving out a path from local churches to global acclaim demanded resilience beyond what most people could ever imagine. Before we examine the labyrinth of record deals, heartbreaks, and explosive rumors that defined Angie's climb to the top, consider this.
We're told she was in a van that was heading back to Atlanta after a concert there in Alabama. The 63-year-old's career spanned decades, including hits like No More Rain and I Wish I Didn't Miss You.
How does a talented artist with a devoted following face so many hidden hurdles in an industry designed to promote talent? And how does a beloved singer, on the verge of exposing alleged misdeeds by her own label, lose her life in a collision that defies logic? Buckle up, because Angie Stone's story is about more than success. It's a cautionary tale of fame, power, and the danger of speaking out when the odds are stacked against you. Yet to understand her extraordinary rise and fall, we must first explore the foundation that shaped her.
According to Champaign, the singer was supposed to meet her in Maryland today for a performance at the CIAA basketball tournament. She had just performed last night at the 2025 Grand Marshals Ball.
Let's journey back to her earliest days, where church pews and gospel harmonies seeded the fierce ambition that would propel Angie Stone to unexpected heights. Long before Angie Stone's name glimmered on gold records, she was Angela Brown, a determined young girl whose voice rattled the rafters of her local church. Each Sunday, she poured every ounce of soul into those gospel hymns, guided by her father, a dedicated gospel singer in his own right, who insisted on precise rehearsals long into the night.
Legendary R&B performer Angie Stone, raised in Columbia, has died at the age of 63. Born with a gift, she began singing gospel music at First Nazareth Baptist Church.
At the time, it felt grueling, but Angie would later credit this early boot camp with fortifying her voice and steeling her resolve for the cutthroat realities of the music scene. Gospel served as Angie's first language, a channel through which she learned how to interpret raw emotion. Even though Columbia, South Carolina seemed an unlikely launchpad for a future star, anyone who heard her on those Sunday mornings recognized something special. Congregants flocked to hear her stirring solos. The local community took notice, yet Angie sensed an even bigger calling, one that stretched beyond the church walls.
Whatever her reality is at the time, she is going to bring it.
While she revered her gospel roots, she also felt the magnetic pull of funk, soul, and, eventually, rap. The clash between her gospel upbringing and her love for modern sounds defined her ambition. Many in her hometown urged her to stick to what she knew, wary of blending sacred music with secular genres. Angie, however, never shied away from a challenge. With each new influence she absorbed, she inched closer to transforming her strict gospel background into a launchpad for her unique musical style. The irony was that the same church environment that nurtured her initial talent also became the place she had to leave behind to pursue her bigger dreams.
Nothing that she could do that's not quality.
Still, those early lessons in church gave her the discipline she'd rely on as she ventured into riskier musical territory. They also taught her the power of sincerity. When Angie sang, she meant every word. That authenticity would become her signature trait and later define how she confronted adversity in an industry notorious for its unforgiving nature. But her first real break wouldn't come from an R&B stage. It would come from a small hip-hop group that was about to make big waves.
Today, the Stone family released a statement saying in part, Angie loved all her fans, to include the ones who came to what we now know was her final show in Alabama.
In 1979, at a time when hip-hop was still emerging from the underground, Angie Stone burst onto the music scene as a member of the Sequence. Alongside Cheryl, the Pearl Cook, and Gwendolyn Blondie Chisholm, Angie, then known as Angie B, helped pave the way for female rap groups worldwide. Their single Funk You Up wasn't just a catchy track. It was a statement that women could excel in a genre too often dominated by men. Touring the country exposed Angie to both triumphs and trials. Promoters sometimes downplayed the Sequence's talent because of their gender, but they consistently shattered expectations. Show after show, the group's vibrant energy and tight-knit harmonies won over skeptical audiences.
That's according to the Mobile Area Mardi Gras Association. Stone's publicist remembers her as an honest, talented person that left a big impact on the music industry.
It was Angie's first brush with the reality that success in music often meant fighting for respect. Yet she soon realized rap wasn't her full artistic calling. It was a thrill, but she yearned for the deeper melodic tapestry of R&B. By the late 80s, she found herself transitioning toward a more soulful sound, determined to let the full scope of her vocal abilities shine. This shift worried some of her hip-hop peers. Would fans follow her into a new genre? But Angie wasn't interested in being pigeonholed. She'd proven her grit in rap.
Her songwriting skills were second to none, literally. She wrote a lot of songs for the Sugar Hill Gang label that she never got credit for.
Now she wanted to conquer R&B. The Sequence era underscored the lesson that every victory would require courage and perseverance. Angie would carry that lesson into the next phase of her career, armed with a reputation for never backing down. Little did she know, her foray into R&B would magnify both her star power and the obstacles she'd have to overcome. By the early 1990s, Angie's pivot toward R&B became clearer when she joined the group Vertical Hold. Songs like Seems You're Much Too Busy showcased her magnetic voice, but she needed to step out of the background to fulfill her true potential. Determined to sculpt her own path, she readied herself for a solo debut that would forever change how people viewed her as an artist. In 1999, she introduced the world to her solo album, Black Diamond. What the public heard was an artist who melded gospel's emotional depth with hip-hop's fearless edge, then wrapped it all in a silky R&B package.
Right here in the palm of your hands, and we have to rally together, grow together in order to count.
Critics took notice, praising No More Rain, In This Cloud for its genuine vulnerability. The album quickly went gold, confirming Angie's hunch that the world was ready for her individual voice. 2 years later, she released Mahogany Soul, which catapulted her into the emerging neo-soul movement. Sharing the spotlight with luminaries like Erykah Badu and Jill Scott, Angie Stone demonstrated that her brand of music, rooted in sincerity, heartbreak, and empowerment, had broad appeal. Tracks like Wish I Didn't Miss You became universal anthems of heartbreak, spotlighting her ability to articulate longing and regret with a depth few singers could match. Yet the more her fame grew, the more she confronted the difficult side of the industry. The suits in boardrooms often saw her as a commodity rather than an artist. Managers meddled in creative decisions. Executives demanded hits. Angie loved performing, but gradually realized how tenuous control could be in an environment driven by profits. Still, her star ascended. Grammy nods and Soul Train Lady of Soul awards followed. She earned acting roles in films like The Hot Chick and The Fighting Temptations, further expanding her public profile. On the surface, Angie appeared unstoppable, an artist in her prime, beloved by fans, recognized by her peers, and edging ever closer to legendary status. But storm clouds were brewing behind the scenes, and the next phase of her life would prove that personal drama can sometimes overshadow even the brightest career milestones. Angie's songs often illuminated the highs and lows of love, and her own romantic history was equally eventful. One of her most public relationships was with R&B crooner D'Angelo, who was a shy newcomer when they first crossed paths. Angie identified his immense potential long before the rest of the world caught on, guiding him musically and emotionally. Their connection produced a son, Michael, and for a while, they were a neo-soul power couple. Yet as D'Angelo's fame skyrocketed, the couple's bond faltered.
She was nominated for 3 Grammys and won 2 Soul Train Lady of Soul awards. Green says her legacy is going to be her songwriting.
Touring schedules, media scrutiny, and personal changes eroded what they'd built. They eventually parted ways, leaving Angie to reflect on both the blessing and burden of a relationship intertwined with creative partnership. The split also affected her career momentum. Some industry insiders no longer viewed her as the powerhouse behind D'Angelo's sound, but rather as a supporting figure left behind in the wake of his success. Later, Angie stunned fans by revealing that the Hollywood actor Idris Elba had, at one point, been smitten with her. They'd worked together on a music video when he was still a rising star. She admitted to brushing him off, in part because her heart was still wrapped up in unresolved emotions from her relationship with D'Angelo. Looking back, she quipped that she absolutely had regrets about turning down Idris Elba, an anecdote that only added to her storied romantic life. All these personal experiences fed directly into Angie's music, making her ballads and slow jams feel intimately relatable. Whether singing about heartbreak, nostalgia, or the rush of new love, she connected with listeners who felt she was narrating their own stories. Yet even as her personal life captivated tabloids and fans alike, a much more disconcerting battle began to brew. It wasn't about love. It was about money, control, and ownership of her own creations. Angie Stone had spent decades pouring her heart into albums, live performances, and songwriting sessions. Naturally, she assumed her royalty checks would reflect her extensive contributions. But minor discrepancies caught her eye in 2024. Royalties that either arrived late or didn't arrive at all. She started investigating and uncovered something far more egregious than simple clerical errors.
Only person to have died. Nothing further is available at this time, and Aaliyah troopers continue to investigate the incident, Monet.
Many of her songs had never been officially registered under her name. Her digging pointed directly to Universal Music Group UMG. In December 2024, Angie went public with her suspicions, posting a series of videos where she accused UMG of systematically withholding royalties. She described how entire swaths of her publishing portfolio seemed to vanish into corporate ledgers, stating plainly that they've taken pretty much everything. It was a powerful accusation, one that threatened to peel back the curtain on long-standing industry practices. UMG responded with standard denials, releasing neutral statements that effectively said, "We dispute these claims." But behind closed doors, insiders whispered about frantic attempts at damage control. After all, Angie's career spanned decades, and she wasn't just any artist making noise. She was a respected veteran with a loyal fan base, prepared to take her grievances public in a big way. By early 2025, her struggle had become a flashpoint in conversations about artist compensation. Other musicians who faced similar issues quietly cheered her on, even as they feared backlash from the same powerful entities. Angie took to social media to announce she was prepared for a legal showdown, hinting at extensive documentation that could prove her assertions. Yet no one could have predicted the turn of events that followed. Just as she was gathering forces for a potentially explosive lawsuit, tragedy struck. On February 29, 2025, Angie Stone delivered a triumphant performance in Mobile, Alabama. The show drew a packed house, eager to witness a legend still at the top of her game. By 4 a.m. on March 1st, she was en route to Atlanta with her band and crew in a Mercedes van. They might have been buzzing over the night's triumph, or maybe they were already planning future gigs. Whatever filled the conversation, no one expected the catastrophe that came next. The van flipped on Interstate 65, rolling over until an 18-wheeler barreled into it.
Rose to fame as a member of The Sequence, a pioneering female rap group. She was only 63 years old. WSFA has reached out to Alabama law enforcement agency for...
Witnesses described a horrific scene of mangled steel and shattered glass. Emergency responders rushed to the location, pulling out survivors and attempting life-saving measures. Most of the passengers, though injured, survived, but Angie Stone was found gravely wounded and unresponsive. Despite the best efforts of medics, she was pronounced dead at the scene. Word spread at lightning speed. Fans everywhere shared stunned reactions on social media, refusing to believe that the soul icon who delivered timeless hits could be gone so suddenly. It was a gut-wrenching moment, made even more jarring by the knowledge that only Angie, out of 9 passengers, had lost her life. The question on everyone's minds was, how could it come to this? Why her? Law enforcement cited a range of possible factors, from treacherous road conditions to driver fatigue. But almost as soon as Angie's death was confirmed, a wave of suspicion rippled through the public, especially in the wake of her dispute with UMG. Coincidence? Or something more sinister? The tragedy was raw, the timing uncanny. The music world was plunged into mourning. Tributes poured in from legends like Erykah Badu, Jill Scott, and countless others Angie had influenced. Fans posted clips of her final performance and shared messages of grief under hashtags dedicated to her memory. Angie's children, Diamond and Michael, released a statement thanking everyone for their support, reminding them that Angie's voice would ring out every time her music is played. Still, amidst the sorrow, unsettling questions emerged. Angie had been on the brink of exposing alleged wrongdoing by one of the most powerful record labels in the business. Suddenly, she was no longer alive to follow through. Theories buzzed across social media, with people pointing to other music icons, Michael Jackson, Prince, Tupac Shakur, Aaliyah, whose untimely ends had also sparked suspicions of foul play connected to industry conflicts. A viral post summed up the sentiment swirling around. Angie Stone calls out a big label for messing with her royalties. Days later, she's gone. What are we missing here?
She was a trailblazer for people who were in the music industry. They knew, they felt like, hey, it can be done. We've seen Angie do it.
Investigations officially concluded the crash was an accident. Yet in an era of digital sleuthing, it's tough to quell speculation. Many found it suspicious that Angie alone died, especially given her recent declarations about seeking justice in court. Conspiracy theories typically thrive when the timing is too chilling to dismiss as mere chance. Here, every detail fueled the chatter. A nighttime highway crash, a star engaged in a high-stakes confrontation, and a suspiciously solitary fatality. Online communities dissected every snippet of information, from police reports to camera footage of the crash site, searching for any clue that might confirm their worst fears. However, even if the official explanation stands, that it was a tragic accident, Angie's passing highlighted how precarious it can be to challenge powerful institutions. Some fans worry we'll never truly know if there was any connection, and others maintain absolute certainty that her outspokenness put her in danger. What no one debates is the enormous void her death left in R&B and in the hearts of those who believed in her fight for artistic rights. Angie Stone's life journey was never just about climbing the charts or collecting awards. It was about a young girl who broke boundaries in an all-female rap group, about a soul singer who poured gospel fervor into hits that crossed genres, and about a woman who stood firm against an industry giant when she felt cheated. In each chapter, Angie revealed something new: grit, vulnerability, endurance, and most of all, authenticity. Her vocal style remains in a league of its own, a bridge between old-school gospel traditions and the modern pulses of R&B and hip-hop. Artists emerging today still cite her as an influence, pointing to her fearless blend of musical genres and her unwavering honesty about life's trials. That honesty played out not just in her songs, but in her willingness to address thorny issues like lost royalties and corporate exploitation. Even if her legal battle remains unfinished, Angie's public stance emboldened others to scrutinize their own record deals and demand fair treatment.
The Sequence, remembered as the first all-female rap group. Local radio announcer Johnny Green, who recently worked with Stone, said she truly loved Columbia and the Midlands.
Yet, it's impossible to discuss her legacy without reflecting on how she left us. The car crash on that dark stretch of Interstate 65 continues to provoke questions. A final twist in the Angie Stone saga that still feels inexplicable. Her family and fans mourn, tribute concerts are planned, and her discography remains a living testament to everything she poured into the world. If anything, her death has magnified the significance of her message. An artist must not be seen as disposable or easily replaced. As time marches on, new headlines will emerge, and social media may fixate on fresh controversies, but Angie Stone's impact will persist. Every time Wish I Didn't Miss You plays on the radio, or a budding singer searches for influences with genuine soul, Angie's presence is felt. She was more than a performer. She was a torchbearer, illuminating the struggles, heartaches, and triumphs of an artist navigating the murky waters of a billion-dollar industry. In the end, Angie Stone left behind questions we may never fully answer. Was her fatal accident purely misfortune, or does it belong to that disturbing pattern where outspoken artists meet grim ends under mysterious circumstances? Whichever view you take, one truth is indisputable. She will forever stand among the brightest lights of R&B, a woman who carried the essence of gospel and funk into every note she sang, and who had the unwavering resolve to call out injustice when she saw it. May her life remind us that real talent doesn't vanish. It echoes through time, stirring hearts and challenging us to look closer at the structures surrounding it. Though we can't bring Angie back, we can honor her by celebrating the truth and passion she championed, and by never forgetting how her spirit and voice shifted the cultural landscape for good.